Moving on, this upcoming week, we got a pay-per-view from AEW, AEW Full Gear. It'll be the third AEW Full Gear. That's from Newark, New Jersey. The second year in a row. They're trying to be like WWE over here with Vegas 2 years in a row for Mania. Well, they're going 2 years in a row to Newark, New Jersey. And it's a big weekend for wrestling overall. I'm going to an independent wrestling show that's got former TNA champion, as if you saw Impact last week, Mike Santana is now former TNA champion. He'll be at this local show as well as some other people of the Hardy Boys and things like that. But you have Full Gear in the Newark, New Jersey area. You have a big GCW show that's got obviously the GCW original guys, but it's also got some other people involved on Friday night as part of not GCW and AEW, but part of the weekend in Newark, New Jersey. You have another wrestling show that's got Karrion Kross on it and Shotzi Blackheart. So a lot in the Newark, New Jersey area when it comes to wrestling shows this weekend. And I imagine there's obviously many independent wrestling shows all over the country, including the one I'm going to. But with AEW, it's the pay-per-view this weekend. There's a few matches of interest. I will say the overall card doesn't make me think this is all in. Doesn't make me think that I can't miss a match if you're not an AEW diehard. But the matches that I'd like to essentially point out to talk about, right? I think there's like four matches that are interest. I'll start with Chris Statlander versus Mercedes Moné. Chris Statlander is the AEW Women's Champion. Mercedes Moné has pretty much literally every single championship under the sun. So I'll ask you, what are we doing with it? Are we continuing with this thing? Is she getting her like 15th championship here?
Yep, she is, and unfortunately, I'm not a fan of this whole thing. I think Stat should keep the title, but I think Mercedes is going to be. They're just going to keep pushing this whole thing where she holds all the belts. That's kind of where things are at right now. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think Mercedes Moné is going to win.
So Mercedes currently holds the AEW TBS Championship, the Owen Hart Foundation Championship, the ROH Women's World, or Interim Women's World Television Championship, not their World Championship, the Rev Pro Undisputed British World Championship, the CMLL Women's World Champion. She's like a Dom Mysterio in the women's world over here. And a bunch of others, Discovery Wrestling, Scottish Women's Championship, EWA Women's Championship, Bestial Women's Championship, Primetime Wrestling Women's Championship. So she's got quite the list of Winnipeg Pro Women's Wrestling Championship as well. So 12, I think, in all she currently has. I think she might have added a 13th recently, but 12 currently on the books. And you think that she's going to be at least getting number 13 against Chris Statlander. What does this do? And essentially, how do you see Mercedes losing all of these championships, especially the ones where it's like not in AEW?
I mean, I think what'll happen is, I think at some point she's just going to relinquish them.
Yeah, you don't think that she's going to go back to every one-off indie promotion she went to and just lose them?
No, I think she'll just relinquish it, maybe cut like a video promo and say, hey, thanks for my time here, blah, 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 and then give up the title.
I think, you know what, though? That would be quite the story, right? You know, kind of like what was it, Baron Corbin? Remember Broke Baron Corbin? I think that would be a great for AEW programming and her kind of character overall is for AEW to document her downfall and to go week in and week out to each and every one of these companies and to lose, be the new lovable loser, if you will, of AEW, and just one at a time, just lose.
She's too much. She's set in her ways so much that I don't think she would ever let herself do that for her character.
We got Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe for the AEW TNT Championship. If Briscoe loses, he'll be forced to join the Don Callis family. Kyle Fletcher, he's the current champion. Obviously, he's been great since he's been there. Maybe even a little bit better. I don't know about wrestling-wise, but a little bit better than Will Ospreay was in the sense of I feel like his character is a little more interesting than Will Ospreay's was to an extent.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a great match. It's quite the contrast of styles, obviously, because Mark Briscoe, well, he's not the flip-diddy-do gymnastics guy that, everyone kind of always talks negatively about, like AEW. Yeah, and coming off of, Blood and Guts, obviously, they were both integral in that. Should be interesting enough. But also two people that were integral in Blood and Guts was we saw Pac throw off of one of the entranceways through a flaming table, Darby Allin. This is just a singles match. So I'll actually ask you a question. This is a singles match. There's no stipulation. There's no championship. Do we see a holy shit spot in this match?
Which match was that? I'm sorry.
Darby Allin and Pac.
Oh yeah, we're gonna obviously see a
So
holy
even though we
holy.
don't got this isn't a street fight or anything like that, they still are going to have to do something where someone's bleeding heavily.
Yeah, they have to like it's to me, and I like. Don't get me wrong. I've pushed for Darby Allin to be like the face of it, like face of AEW, and it's to an extent too. He's always got to do these shock and awe things, kind of like Moxley does. And for me, it gets to a point where it's like it makes your character look less valuable because you're like a one trick pony, and like that's how I look at it. Like I don't need you to do crazy shit all the time. Like I need you to put on a good match without having to do something stupid because he always does dumb stuff. And it's like I know it's his body; he can do whatever he wants with it. Like that's the whole thing. But I would just rather have good storytelling and good wrestling. Like that's what I look for. I don't mind these occasional spots, but when you're making a living in every match, you're doing something that's to me it's I think it's dumb, to be honest with you. I don't eventually you're gonna see his career cut short if he keeps it up.
So we got the main event. It's Hangman and Page, the champion, against Samoa Joe inside a steel cage. They had after defeating Powerhouse Hobbs in the Blood and Guts match in a Falls Count Anywhere match. Hangman was attacked by Samoa Joe and Shibata, who he's currently kind of siding with, and that essentially set this kind of thing up so that Eddie Kingston and Hook, who are on the side of Hangman and Page, they can't be involved. Obviously, Samoa Joe can't have anybody involved. So this is a steel cage match for the championship. Hangman Adam Page, he's been champion since obviously whatever that pay-per-view is. All In, the big one, the big coronation where they did the whole WrestleMania 40 spot, but with the AEW talent coming out to help Hangman Adam Page win it. So my question to you is, does Samoa Joe have a chance?
He does. I think he wins. I think Samoa Joe's going to win this match. I mean, why not? I mean, Samoa Joe he's one of the most decorated wrestlers of this era, and he would be a great representation of AEW. Having the torch, kind of carrying the ball for a while. I think will be a good thing for AEW. I mean, to me, it reminds me to an extent, but I think he can do it better. Like when Chris Jericho was a champion, to give it some more mainstream juice, because not a lot of these, not like there's some diehards out there that obviously follow everything Hangman does, but if you're a wrestling fan in the last 25 years, Samoa Joe, you know what he's all about. He's right in your face, cuts a good promo. He's great in the ring. He just has it. He's always had the it factor, and I think he'd be a great representation as the champion of AEW.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's been there for quite some time. And I guess too, obviously, if he doesn't win it, what would be next necessarily for Hangman Adam Page after this? I think it is a good time. It is at the end of the year. There's still one more pay-per-view after this before we end the year. Obviously, still a few more pay-per-views before we get back to like the big ones like Revolution and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. And then obviously maybe we could have the rematch at the December pay-per-view World's End. But yeah, I do think it could be Samoa Joe's time. He is definitely somebody who's put in all the work in the world of pro wrestling.
Yes.
Like from Great Balls of Fire against Brock Lesnar, going back to his TNA days. He is definitely somebody.
Ring of Honor
at the end of Ring of Honor at the end of his career. I'll ask you this quickly before we go off the air. At the end of his career, do you see Samoa Joe getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Samoa Joe, I mean, the Hall of Fame question it's an obvious one. I think for everything that he's done in this business, whether it's WWE versus, TNA, obviously they had that partnership we all know and love these days, Ring of Honor, and obviously what he's doing in AEW. Like the guy has been well-traveled. I think he started wrestling in the late 90s. I want to say like 99. So he's been doing it
about the same time as like AJ Styles started, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's about AJ's age, because I want to say he's like 47. I want to say he's right around that same age as AJ. But the point is, he's been around the block a long time, and some may argue, well, he didn't have a super long run in WWE, but either did Sting. Sting was under that WCW umbrella where he was part of the Monday Night Wars, the whole 83 weeks.
Where I'll give Sting, obviously, the credibility, other than the fact that he's a huge name, is the fact that WWE owns WCW.
At the time, they didn't. At the time, they did.
Well, at the time they inducted him into the Hall of Fame, they did. So
Yes.
what I'm saying is that they own WCW. So right now, anything you've done in WCW essentially is the same as doing it in WWE because of that. So I understand that he's not going to get inducted based on his WWE only time. No one is,
And here's
right?
the thing.
You
To
just
that
have to have
point,
been in WWE at some point.
to that point though, Samoa Joe's best run was probably in TNA, which
Mhm.
is kind of they have that nice partnership as well. That's where I was getting to
Yeah.
that. The TNA portion of it, where TNA obviously we talked about on the show this week, we had two TNA stars that have been they just showed up on the last SmackDown, the last Raw as a part of the last time is now thing. So
Mhm.
obviously the TNA partnership, obviously we've seen that. So I to me, where I first found out about Samoa Joe, honestly, was I didn't see his Ring of Honor stuff till later on, but I
Mhm.
knew him from TNA. Like there was a time when TNA was the cat's pajamas. Like there were so many great names and so many stars, like an AJ Styles, for example.
Mhm.
It was a great time to be a fan. And for me, everything he's done in the last 25 years has been nothing short of great. He's even done great work when it comes to being on the commentary side of things as well. So like they can highlight how talented he is from all aspects of the business. And to me, it's a slam dunk. Samoa Joe, whenever WWE wants to get him in, no one's gonna even think twice about it.
I
He's
feel
earned
like
it.
just to
He's a
get
hell of a career.
cohesive, if he does go in, because it's not like Chris Jericho, or Edge or anything, but just for cohesiveness, I feel like he'd have to come back and do something with the WWE quickly before being inducted, because he's now been out for like a decent amount of time. And WWE, we all know TKO, right? They talk about Vince McMahon and the pay-per-views that no one cares about anymore because that's old news, and they throw away yesterday's stuff. They're like Las Vegas. They tear it down. They got no history, right? And for that, those people, right, they'll be like Samoa Joe. Oh, he was like a pretty somewhat main eventer for WWE for a short period of time, but his main stuff was before that, NXT, TNA. They're going to be like, all right, well, what's he been doing for the last 5 years? They're like, well, he's been AEW for the last 5 years. They're like, yeah, do we think that because how many times do we see this? WWE thinks that fans don't watch anything else, right? And Vince McMahon has said this many times, like, well, people know who this person is. Like he said it about like AJ Styles and other people, like, no one's gonna know who you are because you wrestled for a different company, so it doesn't matter. Which is wrong, but I feel like he's
100%
just gonna
wrong.
have to like come back, maybe get on the commentary again and kind of just have that, past kind of remembered, right? Because again, even his time in WWE near the end, right? Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe in that throwaway match and things like that, where the Great Balls of Fire match against Brock Lesnar, those are almost 10 years ago now. So, like, he's not Jericho. He's going to have to come back so that they can really hype up that stuff. He's not Sting by a long shot in that popularity realm, in that notoriety world. In the sense of like me, like there's obviously people in AW, right? That regardless how long they're in AW, like Edge can go in the Hall of Fame tomorrow. He's already in, but he can go in the Hall of Fame tomorrow, and no one's gonna like forget. No one's gonna be like, oh yeah, you were in WWE, weren't you? Not saying a lot of people were, not saying we would, but there are the younger ones out there who'll be like, oh, you were in WWE? I don't really remember. I was like 14 when I started watching. I'm 24 now, and I haven't seen you in it. That kind of thing. So, interesting either way, though. I think you say he's going to be the world champion for AEW. So either way, he's not going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame this week. He's going to be the top and the head of AEW after this Saturday. So we'll